Chapter 1. The Sudden Downpour of Light. Please, forgive me. Everyone else is wearing it, only you aren't. Ji Qinghan had just gotten up from his desk when he overheard the explosive conversation of a couple nearby. He perked up his ears and listened closely, soon realizing that yet another honest guy had been forced to wear the green hat his girlfriend had specially woven for him. Ji Qinghan felt a bit bored. He had heard too many stories like this, and they had lost the shock and novelty they once had. As a university student in this new era, such things were all too common. Sigh, when will this dull life ever end? Ji Qinghan thought, glancing at the blackboard. His professor was explaining a difficult problem to the students. As an orphan, Ji Qinghan hadn't become disheartened or gone astray. On the contrary, his life was quite comfortable, and his academic performance was exceptional. He had earned top scholarships all the way up to this point. Moreover, he often tutored children from wealthy families, earning enough to live better than most students from average backgrounds. It seemed that ever since he witnessed his parents' car accident, his brain had been stimulated, undergoing some changes. He had a photographic memory and could easily infer new things from what he learned, tasks that were simple for him. This kind of life felt dull and far too easy. He glanced at the problem on the board, which had been explained several times already, and felt a wave of drowsiness wash over him. So boring, so sleepy. Suddenly, the entire world seemed to pause for a split second. The next moment, everything returned to normal, but everyone was startled. What just happened? Ji Qinghan's drowsiness vanished. He immediately sat up straight and looked around, noticing that everyone was glancing about with bewildered expressions. Clearly, they had also felt that momentary, heart-jolting sensation. The classroom suddenly became noisy, and even the professor clutched his chest, his face filled with panic. Something unseen seemed to have changed. Just as the professor was about to restore order, someone pointed out the window and shouted, "Look! Shooting stars!" Everyone looked outside and saw glowing orbs slowly descending from the sky. These orbs left long trails behind them, falling toward the ground like raindrops, resembling a divine blessing. Ji Qinghan squinted, his handsome face showing a hint of interest. This wasn't a meteor shower, it was a rain of light. The entire sky was filled with these lights, making the scene look like a dreamy wonderland. A girl seemed to have forgotten her earlier anxiety. She clasped her hands together and made a wish out the window. "I wish for my family's safety and a good grade on my exams." Many others followed suit, and some even took out their phones to capture the scene, intending to share it online. Ji Qinghan found this amusing. This was no different from retweeting a lucky koi before an exam. It had no practical effect. If it had any use, it was only to help the person making the wish accept whatever came next more calmly. What concerned him more was why this rain of light appeared. Ji Qinghan could clearly feel that after that momentary jolt, his body seemed to have undergone some change. However, he couldn't pinpoint exactly what it was, and his mind began racing with thoughts. At this moment, a boy looking around suddenly pointed at the ceiling and shouted, "Look! The light is coming through the ceiling." Ji Qinghan quickly looked up and saw that several glowing orbs were indeed passing through the ceiling and descending toward them. The flickering lights falling to the floor made the whole classroom feel somewhat unreal. Suddenly, many students left their seats, screaming and dodging the falling lights. Ji Qinghan didn't move, but his eyes shone with increasing excitement. He knew they were on the third floor, so for the lights to reach here, they must have passed through several floors above. What was this? It was a supernatural phenomenon that couldn't be explained by science. However, Ji Qinghan didn't rush to touch the lights, he continued observing. A girl stumbled while dodging and was accidentally pushed by her roommate, causing her to fall to the floor. A light orb happened to fall on her, slipping into her body like a loach. The girl screamed in terror, frantically feeling around the spot where the light had vanished, desperate to dig it out. But a few seconds later, she slowly lowered her hands from her head and realized she wasn't hurt. "Are you okay? Get up and go to the infirmary to check." The professor, who had been dodging the lights, quickly reached the girl's side and asked with concern. The girl's eyes were filled with fear, but she stammered, I'm fine, but it seems I've acquired some kind of profession, it's called a warrior." As she spoke, she extended her hand to get up with the professor's help, but she accidentally pulled him down to the floor. Ah, I didn't mean to. The girl was so scared that she backed away, seemingly terrified by what she had done. But she quickly realized something. Her strength had increased. What happened just now was clearly a case of her not being used to her sudden boost in strength, leading to her accidentally using too much force. The male professor quickly got up from the ground, looking at the girl with a strange expression. For a moment, he felt as if he had been pulled by a muscular man, yet this girl was so petite. The students around, eager to try, began spreading out to capture the still falling light orbs in the classroom. Ji Qinghan also stood up, but instead of rushing to grab the orbs, he continued observing. He noticed that the orbs varied in size. If these orbs could grant someone extraordinary energy, could it be that the larger they were, the more powerful they were? The whole classroom was in chaos, and even the professor had joined in, trying to touch the lights. However, there were more people than orbs, leading to inevitable conflicts. Two boys near the podium looked up at a slowly falling, unusually large orb. "Get lost, I saw it first." Their gazes clashed, and within moments, they began a physical altercation. A shy boy suddenly found a small flame flickering in his hand. He stared blankly at his hands, seemingly unable to believe what was happening. Similar scenes kept playing out in the classroom. Those who caught the orbs were ecstatic, while those who didn't turned elsewhere. Seeing the chaos, Ji Qinghan sighed softly. He still didn't compete for the orbs because when he glanced outside, he saw some even larger orbs. After absorbing one orb, someone tried to catch another, only to see it pass through their body and fall to the ground. Ji Qinghan took all this in and planned to find himself a big enough orb. Just as he was about to leave the classroom, he suddenly noticed a light orb the size of a basketball coming through the wall. Ji Qinghan's eyes sharpened, and he immediately ran toward it. But just as he took a step, a black backpack came flying toward his face. Ji Qinghan caught a glimpse of the backpack but couldn't dodge it in time, getting hit and seeing stars. When he rubbed his face and stood up again, he saw someone had already reached the orb before him. It was a boy named Li Qingshan, a player on their department's basketball team. This guy wasn't known for his good character, and he played dirty, someone who ignored any rules for his own benefit. Li Qingshan turned to look at Ji Qinghan with a mocking smile. At the same time, he reached out and quickly grabbed the orb. Ji Qinghan touched his slightly aching forehead without any expression and quickly turned to leave the classroom. It wasn't that he wasn't bothered by the hit. He just knew very well that Li Qingshan could easily crush him right now. He would remember this grudge, and given the chance, he would make Li Qingshan realize how foolish his decision today had been. Chapter 2, Global Game. Ji Qinghan was about to leave when Li Qingshan called out to him. "Hey, Ji the genius, you're just going to walk away like that? Not even going to give me a piece of your mind?" Ji Qinghan offered a nonchalant smile, as if nothing had happened. "No need to worry. There are plenty more glowing orbs out there. I'll just find another one." What he didn't expect was for Li Qingshan to suddenly dash in front of him. Ji Qinghan's expression shifted slightly. This guy's speed had really improved. Li Qingshan glanced at his own body in surprise, then, with a mocking smile, locked eyes with Ji Qinghan. "You must be fuming. I can't believe you're indifferent to losing such power. You're overthinking it. We're classmates, I'm not holding a grudge. But someone as smart as you, if you got a power stronger than mine, would definitely come after me. That's what worries me." Li Qingshan spoke seriously, staring at Ji Qinghan. With one hand, he easily lifted Ji Qinghan like a small chick. "So, I can't let you get a power stronger than mine." With a cold laugh, Li Qingshan looked around and spotted a glowing orb the size of a ping-pong ball. His grin widened. Holding the now pale-faced Ji Qinghan, he walked over and lifted him up. Above Ji Qinghan, the glowing orb slowly descended. "Sorry about this, but you'll have to settle for less," Li Qingshan said, a hint of madness in his eyes. Seeing Ji Qinghan's silence only fueled his satisfaction. Li Qingshan had always envied Ji Qinghan. His own grades were poor, while Ji Qinghan excelled in everything. To top it off, Ji Qinghan was always aloof and even better at basketball. Despite his envy, Li Qingshan couldn't deny Ji Qinghan's talent. After the strange phenomenon earlier, Li Qingshan had been closely watching Ji Qinghan. He figured it was better to follow someone smart than to be like the others running around aimlessly. Sure enough, he seized the opportunity that was meant for Ji Qinghan. He'd read in novels that offending someone clever often led to their complete elimination. If not for fearing the consequences, he might have even thought about killing Ji Qinghan right then. As the glowing orb merged into Ji Qinghan's body, Li Qingshan set him down. No need to thank me. You can only blame yourself for putting too much pressure on people. Like a victor, Li Qingshan left Ji Qinghan, who remained expressionless, and returned to his seat without looking back. Ji Qinghan said nothing and quietly left the classroom. As he stepped out, he opened his right hand, revealing a small glowing orb slowly floating out of his palm. The orb, like a feather, gently fell to the ground, passing right through it. Ji Qinghan let out a deep breath. When he was lifted, he felt a moment of despair. But as the glowing orb merged into his body, he received a prompt. Do you wish to acquire the basic profession, archer? He didn't choose immediately. It wasn't until he was outside the classroom that he decided to decline. Ji Qinghan wasn't sure if others had this option, but he knew he still had a chance. Li Qingshan, you'd better watch out. Taking a deep breath, Ji Qinghan managed to control his anger. The frustration of having something snatched away at the last moment was intense. However, Ji Qinghan had faced countless challenges in life and developed an optimism beyond the usual. He looked around and ran upstairs, hoping to find more opportunities on the rooftop. When Ji Qinghan reached the rooftop, he saw a glowing orb still falling from the sky, as if the sun had shattered into fragments scattered across the world. The place, usually a spot for couples, was empty except for him. Every glowing orb he touched gave him a prompt. Do you wish to acquire the basic profession, shield guard? Do you wish to acquire the rare profession, shadow assassin? One glowing orb, the size of a basketball, even contained an epic profession called crusader. Ji Qinghan hesitated. He neither chose yes, nor discarded the orb. He simply held it, looking up at the sky, searching for a better option. Although he didn't understand why he wasn't immediately assigned a profession, Ji Qinghan knew he should make the most of this chance. He waited for over 10 minutes, his neck starting to ache, until he finally saw a glowing orb, at least half a meter in diameter, flying toward a distant dormitory building. Ji Qinghan sighed softly, considering the orb in his hand. He decided to wait a little longer. If he didn't find a better option, choosing the profession in his hand wouldn't be too late. Suddenly, a voice echoed in his mind. The global game has begun. All players, please prepare. Beginner mission starts. Mission: survive for 12 hours. Reward: a random talent suitable for the player's profession. The voice was brief and quickly faded. Immediately after, Ji Qinghan noticed thin cracks appearing in many places. The nearest crack was in midair, not far from him. The cracks resembled a demon's mouth, slowly opening, releasing a foul stench that quickly spread. Ji Qinghan squinted, staring at the crack. As it widened, a hand emerged, followed by another hand, a head, torso, and legs. A figure with blood-red eyes and ashen skin struggled out from the crack. However, it was in midair and fell to the ground with a heavy crash. Ji Qinghan saw clearly that this thing was definitely not human. It looked more like a zombie from movies or games. He swallowed nervously and, as he turned around, found darkness suddenly enveloping him. Startled, he thought a crack had appeared behind him. But it wasn't a crack, it was a black sphere emitting a mysterious dark light. Ji Qinghan stood frozen for a few seconds, not daring to move. Then he noticed the glowing orb in his hand was struggling violently. Unable to hold on, it quickly flew away as if escaping. At the same time, the black sphere rushed toward Ji Qinghan, leaving him no time to react. Ji Qinghan's face changed as he heard a surprising voice in his mind. Congratulations! You have acquired the special profession, necromancer. Ji Qinghan's expression shifted. This profession was different from the others. He could choose other professions, but this time, it seemed like the profession had chosen him. Chapter 3, Necromancer. Skeleton Minion. Ji Qinghan felt as though he had plunged into an ice cavern, the bone-chilling cold seeping into him. This cold was not physical but came from the depths of his soul, making him feel as if his very essence had been entombed at the base of a snow-capped mountain. Unable to speak, Ji Qinghan gritted his teeth and endured the icy sensation until it gradually faded. When he regained control of his body, he found a game-like interface before him. Player: Ji Qinghan. Profession: Necromancer. Level: 1. Combat Power: 5. Skills: Deathcall, Necromancer's Domain. Talent: None. He paused for a moment, then focused on the skills. The interface shimmered, and skill descriptions appeared. Deathcall: summon your most loyal minion to fight. The minion's attributes match the basic combat power of the Necromancer. Current maximum summonable minions: 1. Necromancer's Domain, can house your minions. No other creatures can survive inside. Ji Qinghan was surprised to start with 2 skills, though only one was combat-related. Having a minion for battle offered some reassurance. Below, he heard the screams of humans being torn apart by suddenly appearing zombies. To his surprise, he did not feel any noticeable increase in physical strength. The interface displayed no specific stats like health or mana, only combat power. As he focused on his combat power, a hint appeared. Combat power is a comprehensive evaluation of the unit's attributes. The battle outcome may be influenced by various factors. Seeing his 5 combat power, Ji Qinghan fell silent. Was he now classified as 5-star trash? He quickly pushed this thought aside and tried his first skill. He heard smashing sounds from the classroom downstairs, indicating the presence of zombies. Deathcall. He felt disoriented, as if he had stayed up all night. A faint green glowing magic circle formed before him. With a grinding of bones, a skeleton about his height slowly emerged from the circle. It moved stiffly and stood obediently beside Ji Qinghan. The magic circle faded, and Ji Qinghan showed no fear of the skeleton. Through a subtle connection, he sensed the skeleton's obedience, making the frightening figure seem almost endearing. Do you follow my orders? Ji Qinghan examined the skeleton and tentatively asked. The skeleton couldn't speak, but the soul connection conveyed its willingness to follow Ji Qinghan's commands. Ji Qinghan tested a few more commands and was pleased to find that the skeleton seemed to possess its own combat awareness, requiring only general instructions. He also checked the skeleton's attributes and found they matched his own exactly. Skeleton Minion. Level 1. Combat Power: 5. Good, now we're both 5-star trash. With another, we'll be a 2-star 5-star trash. Ji Qinghan reassured himself and prepared to head downstairs. Staying here was pointless. Without water or food, he would eventually be trapped by a lack of supplies. The glowing rain had stopped, signaling the official start of the global game. Checking his phone, he noted it was just past noon. The so-called beginner mission likely required surviving until midnight. Ji Qinghan eagerly anticipated the reward. He now had supernatural powers, and the world seemed to have changed. The school's loudspeaker crackled to life with a man's heavy breathing. Students, please take refuge under the guidance of your teachers. We will call the police and arrange for rescue as soon as possible. Trust. Before he could finish, the speaker was filled with the sounds of breaking doors and the man's screams. Ji Qinghan recognized the voice as the principal who had spoken during orientation. The screams continued, followed by a chilling sound of gnawing. The necromancer profession seemed to have helped Ji Qinghan adapt quickly to this unsettling reality. In fact, he found the world somewhat more intriguing now. Of course, this newfound interest came at the cost of countless lives. Hold the door. We'll deal with these 2 zombies before letting more in. As Ji Qinghan descended from the rooftop, he heard roars from the corridor, accompanied by beast-like growls. Hiding in a corner, he peeked in the direction of the noise and saw several zombies scratching at a door. Clearly, someone was barricading it from the inside. Ji Qinghan observed the zombies quietly and unexpectedly obtained their attributes. Slow Zombie. Level 1. Combat Power: 6. Unbelievable, even a single zombie is stronger than you. Ji Qinghan glanced back at his skeleton minion and rolled his eyes. Given its frail appearance, it was questionable whether it could inflict any damage on zombies. Fortunately, he spotted a brick in the corner and handed it to his skeleton minion. The skeleton's combat power increased by 0.5 upon receiving the brick. Though the boost was minor, Ji Qinghan was pleased. It meant that external aids could impact combat power, and his skeleton minion wouldn't remain useless forever. He took his minion back to the rooftop and, after some searching, found a rusty steel rod. With both the brick and the steel rod equipped, his skeleton minion's combat power rose to 6.5, making it quite formidable. Not bad. I'll find you some better weapons later. Satisfied, Ji Qinghan noted that his minion was now on par with a zombie. At that moment, a low growl came from behind him. Turning around, Ji Qinghan saw a zombie had followed them to the rooftop due to the noise they made. Go ahead, hit it. Ji Qinghan patted his minion's shoulder, almost making it stagger, but it steadied itself and charged at the zombie. The zombie responded aggressively, and Ji Qinghan quietly closed the door leading downstairs. If several zombies were drawn by the commotion, it would be disastrous for them. The skeleton minion fought fiercely, dodging the zombie's attacks and smashing its face with the brick. The zombie's head cracked open, and before it could retaliate, the steel rod was thrust into its eye. The zombie's movements stiffened, and it gaped its mouth to bite the skeleton. With a crunch, the zombie's teeth shattered. The skeleton minion continued its assault, using the brick to strike the steel rod and eventually piercing the zombie's head with the steel rod. The zombie's body stiffened, then fell, motionless. Ji Qinghan watched in amazement as his skeleton minion, aside from a few bite marks, had almost no injuries. Moreover, as the zombie died, a wisp of gray-white energy floated out and entered the skeleton minion. Ji Qinghan observed intently as the bite marks on the skeleton minion visibly healed. The minion could absorb this gray-white energy to repair its injuries. Chapter 4, The Professionals in the Classroom. Ji Qinghan barely had time to think when he suddenly felt a wisp of gray-white energy enter his body. What's going on? I'm not injured. Frowning slightly, Ji Qinghan noticed a green flame icon appearing on his panel. Focusing on it, he saw that the green flame was part of a larger flame. Is this the skill tree? Ji Qinghan realized this energy could likely be used to unlock future abilities and skills. The necromancer really has some dark energy. Despite the eerie nature of this power, Ji Qinghan did not disdain it. He noted the information carefully. Power itself is neither good nor evil, what matters is how it is used. He couldn't find the experience needed to level up, or perhaps there was another reason. As he was about to leave, Ji Qinghan noticed something under the zombie's corpse. Instead of checking himself, he sent his skeleton minion to investigate. The skeleton minion soon returned with a spiked wooden club, a weapon. Spiked wooden club, level 1. Increases combat power, 2. The steel spikes were embedded in the zombie's skull. Ji Qinghan equipped this weapon on his skeleton minion, increasing its combat power to 7. Ji Qinghan stroked his chin, contemplating what this combat power really meant. During the previous battle, although the skeleton minion's combat power was slightly higher than the zombies, it had shown a clear advantage. Such one-sided dominance suggested the skeleton was particularly effective against zombies. Zombies attack by biting and scratching, but the skeleton minion had no flesh to be harmed. Therefore, zombie attacks could not threaten the pain-free skeleton, while the skeleton's attacks consistently dealt heavy damage. If Ji Qinghan imagined himself in the skeleton minion's place, he felt he would likely struggle against zombies. Combat power might be a theoretical measure, actual performance depends on various details and circumstances. If the skeleton can use equipment, its potential is significant. Ji Qinghan was pleased. He sent the skeleton minion ahead and followed it downstairs. On this descent, only 2 zombies remained outside, suggesting others had been lured inside. Ji Qinghan quickly issued an attack order. He needed to join forces with the people inside, his current strength alone was insufficient. While he was thinking, the skeleton minion had already charged ahead. It picked up the spiked wooden club and struck one zombie on the back of the head. The zombie's body stiffened and was instantly killed. A wisp of gray-white energy was absorbed by Ji Qinghan, making the green flame on his panel slightly brighter. Nice. Ji Qinghan praised silently and then saw the skeleton minion engage with another zombie. With a weapon in hand, the skeleton minion made short work of the zombie, which seemed like a mere punching bag. In less than half a minute, the second zombie was also dispatched, bringing relief to everyone in the room. Thank you. I'm Li Qian, the head of the dance club, a junior student. The girl who had been attacking with shockwaves approached Ji Qinghan first, extending her hand in greeting. Ji Qinghan shook her hand lightly, introduced himself, and said, "You were supposed to be in class. Why are only you here? It's our dance club's freshman training today. We moved to this empty classroom because the original venue was occupied." Li Qian's voice was breathless, but her disheveled hair added a unique charm and beauty to her. Ji Qinghan nodded and said, "We need to go downstairs. From the rooftop, I saw that these zombies likely came from a crack. There must be a crack somewhere in this building, otherwise, zombies wouldn't have climbed up so quickly." Li Qian agreed but then shook her head. "After we heard that strange noise, we tried to leave. But downstairs, on the 8th floor, there are many zombies blocking our way." Ji Qinghan raised an eyebrow. "The crack is downstairs. We don't know, but these zombies came from downstairs." Ji Qinghan felt a headache coming on. If the crack was on the 8th floor, getting down would be extremely difficult. Moreover, only 3 of them dared to fight, complicating his plan. Realizing this, he looked at Li Qian and said seriously, "You've seen the situation. With those zombies outside, everyone needs to join the fight to survive." His meaning was clear. He wanted Li Qian to motivate the hesitant students into action. Before Li Qian could respond, a well-dressed girl spoke up. "I'm just a girl. How can I possibly fight those terrifying zombies? Can't you, a strong man, protect me?" Chapter 5, Attempt to Escape. Ji Qinghan glanced over and saw a girl in all black, with her long white legs exposed. He tried to access her information but found it wasn't possible. He asked helplessly, "What professions did you all get? And what's your combat power?" Li Qian spoke first, still grateful to Ji Qinghan. "I'm a wind fist fighter. I have a passive skill that lets me create invisible airwaves when unarmed. My combat power is 10. The 2 boys who had fought earlier chimed in, were both warriors with the heavy strike skill. "Our combat power is 7. The delicate girl, noticing Ji Qinghan's gaze, said, "My profession is a rare one called Arcane Mage, and my combat power is 10. Ji Qinghan's eyes widened in disbelief. "Then why aren't you fighting?" "I'm scared," the girl replied. Ji Qinghan was baffled, wondering if people like her had brains the size of sesame seeds. With the danger outside, if they didn't work together, they would all end up dead. The other students shared their basic professions and combat powers. Ji Qinghan then introduced himself. "I'm a hidden profession, necromancer. My skill is summoning skeletons, and my combat power is 7. He didn't reveal his true combat power, which was that of his skeletons. There was a risk that Li Qingshan, who might have an epic profession, would cause trouble if he learned Ji Qinghan's real profession. After Ji Qinghan finished speaking, the girl laughed, covering her mouth. "Haha, your combat power isn't even higher than mine. I thought you were a big shot." Ji Qinghan ignored her. People like her would eventually die outside, and he had no time to waste on her. Moreover, if a fight broke out, he was confident his skeletons could defeat her easily. Li Qian looked at the girl with frustration and then asked Ji Qinghan, "What should we do now?" Ji Qinghan shrugged and said plainly, "If your juniors can't join the fight, you're probably going to be stuck here." A boy with eyeliner spoke up, "You could protect us while we leave. Even if your combat power is low, your skeletons seem strong against zombies." Ji Qinghan turned to him and asked, "Why should I protect you?" The boy's face fell immediately. He turned red and then pale, finally saying, "My dad is very wealthy. I can offer you 10,000 if you help us." Ji Qinghan was amused. These people still thought money would help. Although the zombies didn't seem strong, this was just a beginner's mission, typically the easiest part of the game. The appearance of such dangerous zombies suggested that the game's difficulty would be extreme. Ji Qinghan believed this game would drastically change societal order, possibly even end it. He pointed to the zombie corpses on the ground and then to his skeletons, saying, "Look at these. Do you think this world is the same as before?" Everyone, including Li Qian, looked grim. The girl showing her legs stubbornly said, "My boyfriend is a senior in the school's martial arts club. He'll definitely protect me. What if his profession isn't as good as yours, or if he's already dead?" Ji Qinghan asked. The girl fell silent, tears welling in her eyes. Ji Qinghan didn't waste any more time with her and turned to the window. He saw people fighting zombies outside, and some students had even formed groups to fight back. However, zombies continued to emerge from the cracks, depleting their strength. Ji Qinghan's expression grew colder. He knew that staying here any longer increased the risk of being trapped. He turned to the group and asked, "Have you decided? If so, let's try to push through. If not, forget it. I don't want to carry dead weight." Li Qian and the two boys nodded, urging the other new students to join. Surprisingly, the first to change her mind was the girl. I'll fight with you, but you need to protect me. My skill requires casting. Okay. What's your name? Tian. With that, Ji Qinghan's group grew to 5. He looked at the 5 people. The boy with eyeliner said, "I'll wait here. I believe someone will come to rescue us." The others didn't speak, but their hesitation was clear. Ji Qinghan nodded and led his skeletons out, with himself following. Li Qian wanted to persuade the others again but gave up. It was clear these new students were all talk and no action. Before leaving, Tian adjusted her bag on her shoulder. Ji Qinghan reminded her, "Your life is more important. That bag might slow you down." Tian opened her bag, revealing some bread. "I bought these at a store earlier. If we can't get out soon, at least we won't starve." Ji Qinghan glanced at her, surprised by her foresight. However, he knew that if they didn't get out soon, they might all be trapped forever. They checked the 9th floor first and, finding no one else, began descending the stairs. Tian suggested taking the elevator but was promptly vetoed by Ji Qinghan. "If zombies hear the noise and reach the elevator, you'll be a goner," he warned. Tian quietly followed, without further objections. At the stairwell, Ji Qinghan heard no screams, only the groans of zombies. Peeking out, he saw several zombies wandering the 8th floor's hallway. Li Qian looked as well and whispered, "There were several times more zombies before. I don't know why there are fewer now. Are there students in class on the 8th floor?" "Yes, quite a few. Then they must have fled downstairs. The zombies didn't follow." Ji Qinghan relaxed slightly. The cracks weren't on the 8th floor, so their chances of escaping were better. Lower floors seemed to have sounds of battle, likely from people trying to escape. Suddenly, footsteps echoed from behind, loud in the quiet corridor.